grateful for the honor and privilege. Today's presentation reminds me of my teenage years, the earlier part of my life, when we were to listen with rapt attention to sonorous voice of Dr. Sikiri Ayinde Barrister as he releases new albums, which of course were filled with deep Yoruba language, tinted with riddles, metaphors, innuendos, lyrics that are direct or indirect and filled with great entertaining vibes. At that tender age, I had the privilege of attending numerous occasions like today's and others, where not only the singing prowess of Alhaji Agba was only displayed, but his adroit leg and body movements in action. I'm sure you have seen him dancing. As a matter of fact, his and that of King Sunny Ade are incomparable back then. All these reshaped my thinking and knowledge of music and dance as practice and profession, and clearly showed that it takes a committed soul to pitch tent in our creative world, which is an aspect of human existence. Unlike language that has syntax and semantics vary from one country and culture to culture, music has been said to be a universal language, as what seems to be a piece of good music in Angola and what seems to be a piece of bad music in Netherlands may remain bad music in Nigeria. The way Hallelujah Chorus by George Handel will sound in Taipei is the same way it will sound if played in Taraba, because sounds that are produced do not change much across cultures. So emotions and ideas can universally translated and understood. His Excellency, invited guests, our music ambassadors here present, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, how I wished this presentation tagged Dr. Sikiri Ayinde Agbaje Lola Barrister's impactful musical exploits. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow was being done or showcased at an occasion celebrating the musical icon of our time, either through the joyful celebration of his life birthday, not posthumous, or a significant achievement while he was still alive. We shall then be able to understand better the veracity, complexity, and enormity of the work he has done in his creation of narratives around the world of Were has transformed to Fuji music journey. My presentation today further affirms that my youthful thought over 40 years ago, sitting consistently and patiently, listening to Dr. Sikiri Ayinde Barrister's albums, has been released. His dexterity in his use of language, weaving of syllables in song, and blending same with admixture of instrumentations were extraordinary and amazing. Therefore, this session today will likely rest on his characterization using the 6 C's, 2 P's, and a T construct perceived through the prism of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. I quietly broken them down as follows. The first one is to look at his compositions and renditions, followed by creativity and innovation, to be followed by composure and delivery. The next one is culture promotion and socialization quotient. Then we'll look at currency and relevance, followed by crusades, which will highlight his moral, social, religious, political, and economic crusades embedded in his lyrics. Then we look at philosophy and thematic depth. Then followed by performance practice. Then we look at his travels as Nigerian ambassador, which further exposed Fuji to the outside world. For a broader perspective and deep understanding of his travails and triumphs in the installation of Fuji as a musical journey, let us take a peek into his bio. Mr. Fuji in proper context, content, and perspective. A peek into his bio. The late and Dr. Sikiri Ojuade Adeyinka Ayinde Balogun, MFR, MLC, AIMA, undoubtedly was the creator and garrison commander in chief of Fiji music. A globally acclaimed title. He was born into the family of Agbaje Salami at Ayeye in Ibadan and Salawe family of Lagos Island on February 9, 1948 at Iga, Salawe, but grew up in Mushin. In an interview he granted Consult Television as posted on YouTube on 04/12/2018. He narrated that his father was a popular musician in Ibadan while he was growing up in Lagos. He attended his elementary education at Mushin Mission School, Odiolo, Mushin, Lagos. He then proceeded to Yaba Polytechnic between 1961 and 1963. He became an Ajisari singer at tender age of 10 at Masawale area of Mushin. Sakara and Apalamizi were in vogue when he was growing up, particularly that of El Saka, Baba Olatunji Yusuf, and Haruna Ishola, which influenced his music career. Due to the religious and cultural factors, most of the singers of his period either moved to genres like Apala, Sakara, or other professions. He was signed on at the age of 18 strictly as an Ajisari performer alongside Sonisai, Idowu Animashao, and Morufu Akode. It was at this point that It was at this point that he was confronted with which name to call his own type of music, whether to call it Baha'i music. But he remembered that there was a mountain in Japan known as Mountain of Love, named after Fuji. He then decided to name his own after Fuji Mountain. His first record, single of 3 minutes, was released the same day King Sunny Ade released his in 1966 by the Niger Songs and African Song 2IC. He later joined the army in 1968 and fought at Odisha front, where he was wounded and sent back to resettlement center at Ojuade. He then retired from the army in 1974 to become a full-time musician. In 1976, after gaining wide acclaim with his 6th album, Ori Mi Ewo Ni Se O, he made Fiji music more popular through dedication, love, and interest. He was of the belief that anything worth doing at all is worth doing well, and he excelled all through. His characterization, composition, and rendition. Dr. Sikiri Ayinde Barrister was highly gifted and talented. His voice modulation could be likened to that of hourglass drum in creation of pitch, and switching to different forms based on the knowledge and expertise of the handler. He had mastery of Yoruba language, Arabic knowledge, and that of other tribes in Nigeria in particular. He knew when to express such in composition and renditions. He was a genius, and not only a fantastic composer, but a great musician. His ability to modulate his voice to different pitches was peculiar to him. His recitation of verses from the Holy Quran guarantees a firm base he brought in from Ajiwere. Essentially, Alhaji Agba was on-the-spot composer who sang spontaneously and effortlessly, and one of his striking traits of character was his open adoration of his mother, himself, and his band boys. Barrister's high-pitched and silvery voice that he creatively modulated as he deemed fit for that moment, alongside his gripping style of eulogizing himself and his mother, magnetized me to him. I completely agree with one of my academic sons, Folorun Shofatai Adisa, when he said, and I quote, "I particularly envied Sikiri Ayinde's genuine adoration of his mother, Aja Ode Sifao. Where others could be pedestrian or not totally with it, a submissive listener could feel the passion, the pain, and the joy of mommy's boy attempting to envelope his love fully addressed to his mom in just a song. That was the man, Barrister. At any time, never he is an inexhaustive affection for his mother. For every time the late minstrel mentioned his mom's first name, Ode, in a song, his voice amazingly pitched differently with the support, extraordinary instruments that support it every time. Suffice to say that the love of a son for his mom is powerfully different, unexplainable, and incomparable. Eventually, the son is a star. The love becomes even enigmatic. Or is there any Odere anywhere else in this world that you may have known other than Ajia Sifao Odere? Ode. I greatly agree with his submission that Mama was all in love to Dr. Sikiri, the Barrister. His creativity and innovation. He was a fantastic creator and had flair for innovative ideas. For instance, he introduced the application of piano to Fuji music in performance. It really amplified the sound and performance as demonstrated in Fuji Garbage series. We know it has series. The display of adaptation of different musical formats and instrumentation kept him at the top till he died. In addition, he leveraged on visual power by having a video release of his songs where he demonstrated his skill of dance, stepping with permanent dancers, interacting or displaying or explaining whatever he's singing to the audience. His composure and delivery. In performance or through his albums as released, he had grips and control of the moments. As he gets onto the stage for performance, the atmosphere changes. He was confident of himself and straight. He had powerful delivery strategies, which his band boys and girls understood. At times, he can top sing or pre-sing for a long period or of time before the real actions commences. On the other hand, if his band boys overrun him, he brings them back stylishly. And you need me, a walima. Come down. Here, he could as well take on the lineage of his endear. For example, one who is from Onikoyi family, or Tapa origin, or Istana, or himself sometimes. For example, he said, Eleku nini, chayi o mola midi eku jẹ nini. he was trying to let them know that Another example was his humor in action. Maybe there is an occasion whereby we have anko, and if you don't have anko, they won't serve you. What a humor. Culture promotion and socialization question. Culture is the totality of human life. As part of his promotion of culture, he synchronized different cultures of the world without barriers. In fact, he ascribed total respect for culture, particularly when singing the praises of kings, lineages, or highly praised individuals. Sometimes, if Sikiri Ayinde Barrister sees a king, he will remove his cap and kneel down. What a humility in display. Sometimes, he will remove his cap, kneel down for his kings while he sang praises of such personalities as a mark of respect as directed by the Yoruba culture. In an interview in 1988, he confirmed that he had 25 chieftaincy titles from different parts of Nigeria. Currency and relevance. His albums address relevant and significant aspects of economy, well-being, moral, sport, current and contemporary issues. It was to guide and correct anomalies among the people or to address topical issues. Barrister built his brilliance at singing Fuji on philosophy and current affairs. Consequently, his song remains relevant from the time of release till today. For example, his cosmopolitan personality, like in many other tracks, surfaced in 1990, violin titled Extravaganza, where he noted that his music is an artistic composition and distinctive sound, from mentioning the names, famous and highly placed places in Europe and America, such as London, Kennington, Britain, and so on, to his mentioning of eminent people and luxury brands of his time, such as Polorosi, Maradona, Rudamila, Jacquard, Christian Dior, 29 Karati, Tyson hairstyle, also, etc. One cannot but agree that Sir was cosmopolitan and current. Crusades. His music dwelled largely on moral, social, religious, political, and economic crusades as embedded in lyrics. All these were employed to achieve changes. A religious fanatic of Dr. Sikiri Ayinde Barrister's song will understand the rationale behind the Alhaji Aga's opening lines in his track titled Extravaganza, where he noted, and I quote, Ojuade, our Lord, please don't mind I'm not like you. What he was not needless pontificating. Rather, he was sure of his brilliance at what he was doing. He was not needless just speaking Yoruba or creating Yoruba proverbs, but to affirm his actions. Indeed, he was truly the Fuji commandant, as he claimed. Among many social crusades he championed, one stood out in terms of foresightedness and evergreenness, family planning. Then the economy was not in its bad shape when Barrister advocated for smaller and manageable family sizes, so we don't end up bleeding cows or breeding touts, thugs, thieves, and other social miscreants in our society. Our refusal to heed the early warning signal flagged off by Dr. Sikiri Ayinde Barrister is reality of an ubiquitous presence of such elements in our urban areas today. The prophet in him saw it coming, sounded a note of warning, but we failed to heed. Had we listened to him? issues of insecurities of lives and properties wouldn't have been the way it is now. Again, many of his songs were directed at ruling class, counseling them to have the love of other people, particularly the downtrodden at heart. Barrister gave a voice to the voiceless and advocated societal changes and betterment in his musical exploits, his philosophy and thematic depth. One of the strongest philosophy of approach was his ability to balance the religious sects in order to appreciate his type of music at the beginning, and he was to maintain his stance till he died. He had Islamic background and well-versed in Arabic language, which forms his normal opening of any performance or album. But he was quick to extend such to Christianity and traditional belief systems. It was relayed that when Barrister decided to take a purely religious stand to the social circuit, he met a solid brick wall of resistance. After performing for fellow soldiers and their close friends, he got his big breakthrough when a well-known socialite on Martin Street, Alhaji Gadubi, decided to give him a chance at a party that only the caliber of Alhaji Haruna Ishola and Yusuf Olatuji were engaged to perform. Because Dr. Sikiri and Barrister knew that he had very slim chance to impress this high-end socialite, he decided to play the songs of popular artists of that time in his own way, using his nuances. This ensured that no matter your preference, Barry will cover it, sometimes better than the original version. He reverted to his strategy as 80-20 principles, 80% covered songs and 20% original composition, a system adopted by most of the upcoming musicians till today. Performances practice. Alhaji Agba's performance style usually opens up with praises of the Almighty Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala and gradually slide into personal praises and then initial dance. He had a way of regulating the tempo, even control the dancing crowd in front of him. He would just tell them, so that they can just create a breathing space for him. One of his winning strategies is the fact that he held tenaciously to the music lovers without any discrimination or segregation or class differential. He related with the high and low, the professionals and the ordinary citizens, irrespective of the status of such beings. He was a man of the people. In performance, he randomly picked any suitable method of singing, either proverbial, praise singing, prayers, and others, depending on the audience. For example, he used Owuro Lawa to preach using Akuko Gagara, to capture the living life from adolescence to adulthood, where we crawled using both the legs and hands when we were very young, and as studying to graduate to using 2 legs as adults, with the introduction of the 3rd leg at old age. His travels as Nigerian ambassador, which further exposed Fuji to the outside world. He was widely traveled, locally, nationally, and internationally. He was on standby and featured among his local communities, entertaining his fans depending on the occasion, ranging from housewarming, wedding receptions, chieftains' title-takings, coronation ceremonies, and others. In addition, he embarked on several international tours and got series of awards, with particular mentioning in US in 1979, UK, Scotland, France, 1993, Germany, Amsterdam, Switzerland, US, 94, Canada, among others. In conclusion, when Sikiri Barrister was alive, he was both a star and god of music, Fiji music. When he died, he remained a star and at the same time, it turned an ancestor in the pantheon of all time. Greater musicians who are destroying this world like Colossae that they were, Alhaji Agba had the voice, the looks. He was commendably confident, and he had gripping and hair-friendly sound. Of course, today's event and several others being organized in his honor within and outside Nigeria clearly demonstrated or evidenced his sojourn on earth and is qualified to borrow Julius Caesar's word, Beni, Bidi, Fishi. I came, I saw, and I conquered for Alhaji Sikiri and Barrister. Recommendation. His Excellencies, our great ambassadors of music industry, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Sikiri and Barrister represent today great numbers of our fallen heroes, particularly in the creative world, who left the shore of this world without deserved honor. Honor is superlative in the superlative sense. If not for the magnanimity of the organizers of this event and other ones, in about 10-20 years' time, the generations born then might not be privy to know this talented and enigmatic personality. Having been duly recognized nationally by the federal government of Nigeria, while alive with the award of MFR, I call on the state governors of Lagos and Oyo to assist in facilitating and constructing a gigantic destination Fuji in honor of Dr. Sikiri and Barrister MFR. Having done you honor by projecting your culture and taking your names and placing them on global maps, Ayeye in Ibadan and Salawa in Lagos. I strongly believe that such projects will generate revenues for the state and the entire Fuman. It will be a tourist destination. Once again, I thank the organizers of this event for the invitation and everyone in here for the rapt attention. Long live Fuman, long live Nigeria, and Sikiri and Barrister.
Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Jelili, Ojuade, and I have a round of applause for you. Thank you very much. I've been told to quickly announce that the owner of this car is a Benz and is blue.